Thank you, Dave. A game that has increased significance with Montreal and Toronto losses this weekend. Yes, the Bombers still have a shot at a home playoff date here at Canada Stadium, the site of the 2006 Grey Cup game. And a playoff chill certainly in the air. It's 1 degree Celsius, north wind at 21. It makes it feel like -7. Calgary Stampeders come in looking for their 11th win. Tom Higgins Stamps got their much sought after victory over BC last Sunday. Tonight they wrap up the regular season trying to improve on that 2-6 road record. While Doug Barry's Blue Bombers now control their own destiny. They win against Calgary and BC, and they do finish second in the East. By the way, those are the only 2 teams they have yet to beat this year.
Well, big game for the Calgary Stampeders too. They exercised the demon last week by beating the BC Lions. Now they want to get that road victory, something that's eluded them for most of this season before they head into the playoffs. And of course, home field on the line for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers.
So Albert Johnson awaits. Sandro DeAngelis has it on the tee. This the final game of the regular season for the Calgary Stampeders. And it will be Johnson up across the 40, and he's dropped at the 43-yard line. So the Bombers with decent field position to open this game as Kevin Glenn coming off that 300-plus yard performance last week.
Behind Kevin Glenn, Charles Roberts, and we will be watching, of course, Charles Roberts and Joffrey Reynolds tonight. The race is on for the rushing title. Chris Brazel won the coin flip between him and Kwame Cavill to get in the lineup. Stiegel and Armstrong together for the first time, and then there's your offensive line. Jones and Jones at the tackles.
Starting lineups brought to you by Tums. Tums tackles heartburn fast. 6 receivers out. Charles Roberts with the catch over the middle. And to the 52-yard line, he'll be a yard short of the first down, working against this Calgary defense.
And here is the defense up front. Maxey moves back into the middle. Scott Coe and the linebacking core will go back into that inside position. There's your defensive line. Maxey 6 sacks on the season. Number 2 against the run, this 34 defense. There's the linebacking core. Shannon James gets his second start in that core. Lysek at safety has been for the last 4 games.
No Jermaine Chapman, injured in a much talked about play last week as Roberts has the first down. Charles Roberts starting this game 58 yards behind Joffrey Reynolds in the rushing race.
Well, and you know one thing, Charles Roberts wants the title, and he's talked about it many times. Anytime asked, it's been absolutely is something that it's important. He feels like it's the running backs take that wear and tear all season long, and Charles Roberts takes pride in the fact that if you can win the rushing title, basically shows your toughness in the position.
His worst game of the year against this Calgary defense, and look at this! Charles Roberts busting a big one down to the Calgary 32-yard line. In the first meeting at mid-September, Charles Roberts only 9 carries, 23 yards, and that rush was for more yards than in that entire game. He just ripped off 25.
Yeah, and Joffrey Reynolds in that game had 162 yards rushing, so he won round 1 between these two. Of course, the two don't play against each other. They're on the field at different times, but you know that Joffrey Reynolds will be watching his counterpart rip off that big run to get things going for Charles Roberts.
So that rushing lead down to 21 now, as Roberts with a couple of carries for 27 and tests the middle again. You mentioned Calgary, second best defense against the run. They're actually tied, and it's curious that they're tied with Winnipeg, so There's no advantage for either running back in the defense they're playing against tonight.
Well, and sometimes I wonder if it's not the defenses that are more keyed up and fired up about this rushing title than the running backs themselves. Brian Clark said that he was going to give his teammates on defense a pep talk before the game about trying to win it for Joffrey Reynolds by stopping Charles Roberts. The defenses are pumped up about this rushing title as well.
2 more for Roberts, so 2nd and 8. Bunch formation to the wide side. Glenn back to pass. Got away from Raheem Abdullah and then dropped the football, and the Stampeders are going to get on it. Calgary ball, as I think Glenn realized he was over the line of scrimmage and tried to bring the ball back and puts it on the turf. Was he over the line of scrimmage? What was that?
And did it look like he was throwing in a throwing motion? Would this be ruled incomplete? No, he was bringing it back up. When it hit his...
95.
95.
Is that Robit?
The CFL on TSN is brought to you by Coors Light, the Silver Bullet, and by the all-new 2007 GMC Sierra, GMC Professional Grade.
So Brian Clark forces the fumble, and Robert Rodriguez, a newcomer to the Calgary Stampeders defense, has the fumble recovery, and Henry Burris, the offensive player of the week, goes to work. Here comes the rush. Burris with Baron Simpson on his tail. Gets it away. Incomplete. Intended for Brett Ralph.
Sure, Winnipeg fans were wondering if Kevin Glenn was in the throwing motion and whether or not this should be ruled incomplete and not a fumble, but that's the pump now. He's going to bring it back up. It hits his arm, and that should and was ruled as a fumble. Calgary football, I think it's a good call by the official because the pump is there. He pulls it down, then it hits his hand, then it bounces off his knee and hits the turf. That is a fumble by Kevin Glenn.
And a concern for Doug Barry in that Winnipeg is 7th in the giveaway department. Only Hamilton has turned the ball over more this year. 2nd and 10. A 6-pack of receivers for Burris and more pressure. Kyrie Bear on the safety blitz. And again, incomplete. That intended for Jermaine Copeland. So Greg Marshall has his defense teeing off early.
Baron Simpson has been in the backfield a couple of plays in a row. Baron Simpson is right up here. He starts out there. You're going to see Kyrie Bear eventually get involved in the rush as well. He comes on that stunt, and there's Bear that chases Burris out of there. The first play, it was Baron Simpson. Second play, Kyrie Bear from the safety spot.
Burke Dales, who had a punt blocked late last week against BC that made the final minute a little more interesting. In to kick, an average of 45.5 into a breeze. And that ball taken out by Johnson across midfield, just a 30-yard punt.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
Good.
Hello. Yeah, I want to get that one so I can...
It's actually not too bad down here. If you're a penguin.
Is there anything to just keep my feet on? Just because it's the only thing that's cold. The bad shoes here.
Yeah, me too. Mine are frozen.
We get a ruling on the blackout or not? No update?
No update. Couldn't find them, conveniently.
Can I stand on that or not?
You'd be slightly taller than me.
Okay, good.
Well, that's great. Thanks, Cheer. A little soft, but
hey boys.
Important now. Yeah.
Congratulations to all of you for the gym night.
Appreciate that. Right now, I'd trade it for a pair of boots.
Yeah, I cracked a bottle of scotch. I couldn't wait.
We're at the site of the 2006 Grey Cup, and on the sidelines is Sean Churchill.
Thank you very much, Chris. 2 weeks ago, Charles Roberts created a media frenzy when he played a practical joke and on an internet chat line announced that he was retiring. Well, this past Monday, Doug Barry wanted to play a practical joke of his own, and he called Charles into his office, said, you know what, I'm going to sit you for the last 2 games. And as he's chasing Joffrey Reynolds for that rushing title, Charles didn't take too kind to that, but once he settled down, Doug just said, gotcha. They're having a great time heading to the playoffs for the first time in 3 years. Back up to you guys.
Yeah, Coach got a good sense of humor after all. And a sack there that will have him in ill humor as Brian Clark gets to Kevin Glenn, his 3rd sack of the year.
Yeah, that's a straight off the edge rush. No one picked up Brian Clark from the left of your screen, and he does not bite play action. There he is. No chance for Kevin Glenn. And I got to admit, I had a good chuckle about the joke from Doug Barry, especially with Charles Roberts' history with regards to saying he's retiring, he's not retiring, he's coming back. It was a pretty good one by Doug Barry.
2nd and 17, the throw back to Roberts. They were waiting for it. And Brian Clark there again, fired up the former Winnipeg Blue Bomber linebacker. And Charles Roberts in the offense have to go to the sidelines, 2 and out.
Well, you talked about this defense for the Calgary Stampeders and how they've been good against the run. I know that was a little swing pass, but 92.9 per game, 2nd in the league for the Calgary Stampeder defense. But in the last 5 games, they've dropped that down to 81.6. So they're actually getting better against the run as this season winds down, the regular season winds down, and the playoffs begin.
Westwood kicking, and Winnipeg native Marcus Howell, who had the big punt return last week, runs out of real estate and skips out after the 42-yard punt by Westwood. So Henry Burris and the offense checks in for their 2nd possession of the game. And we'll set this Calgary offense for you.
Henry Burris with 22 touchdown passes. Joffrey Reynolds, the rushing leader. We've mentioned that. Their receiving core with Nick Lewis, Jermaine Copeland. Nice distribution of the football throughout the starting 4. Marcus Howell's the 5th one in that group. And Jeff Pilon plays at that tackle spot for the 2nd straight game after missing 6 games.
4 receivers in the top 13 in the CFL stats, and Henry Burris takes off. And a feet-first slide at the 30-yard line against a Winnipeg Blue Bomber defense that I think hopes they get a shot at Burris tonight.
There's the front 4. They're pretty good in the middle. Doug Brown and Ron Warner. They've combined for 8 sacks. Gavin Walls leads the team on the outside with 10. Barron Simpson a couple of tackles away from 100 this season. He had 115 in his rookie year in 2001. That was a personal best. Stanford Samuels was injured this week in practice, so some shuffling in the secondary, and utility man Robert Bean was forced into action one more time.
2nd and 1, Reynolds tries the right side, finds a lot of room. Joffrey Reynolds into the secondary. And at the 41-yard line, at the end of the play, a flag down. Jeff Pilon heated up about something, and I'm not sure if he's the man that drew the flag. 13-yard pickup by Reynolds. We'll see if the flag impacts the run.
Well, if it does, it'll be at the end of yards gained. If it is against the Calgary Stampeders.
You wonder if Reynolds is going to be impacted tonight in the rushing race.
Major foul, necessary roughness, Winnipeg, number 23. It's a dead ball foul. Be 15-yard penalty, applied from the point, ball dead. First down.
So Kyrie Bear, and they move the football all the way to midfield.
There he is right there. Number 23, Kyrie Bear, a shot in the back of Pilon.
Pilon was upset.
Yeah.
I was going to say, you wonder though, Stampeders don't have a lot to gain. How much will Reynolds see the ball in quest of a rushing title? Well, He may get the answer here early because he has back-to-back rushes. Good yardage here early for Joffrey Reynolds.
Well, Danny Barrett had the same dilemma yesterday in Toronto, and you know, the Western playoff picture is basically decided already. The Calgary Stampeders will host the semifinal, the BC Lions hosting the final, and so Tom Higgins has that same dilemma that Danny Barrett had yesterday, and I like the decision to play your starters and play like it's a regular game. It's a slippery slope if you start saying, you know what, this one doesn't matter.
6 on that rush by Reynolds, 2nd and 4. Back to Joffrey. Left side. Turns it. Gets the first down and skips out at the 37-yard line. So it's going to go back and forth. Charles Roberts had the early advantage on the opening series, and now Reynolds racking up yardage on this possession for Calgary.
Yeah, so I like the idea of the fact that Tom Higgins and Danny Barrett are going to go with their starters. They're going to keep the guys, their stars in the game. They're going to have Joffrey Reynolds. Whether he's rushing for the rushing title or rushing to win the football game, he's out there and he's keeping that competitive edge as they head in the playoffs. Remember, they have a bye in the last week of the season, so this is going to be their last action for Calgary until that semifinal game.
Reynolds with 35 yards already. He'll add to that here. Straight ahead to the 33-yard line. Close to 5 more for Joffrey Reynolds.
And Reynolds is starting to get going now. I mean, that previous run for Reynolds to bounce to the outside and pick up big yards. I mean, this is what Joffrey Reynolds gives you. He gives you that speed to the outside, but he's got the power in the middle. A nice cut and good vision to get out there and get the corner. And every one of the Bomber tacklers in a chase position. Then he rips one off with a little power right up the middle for pretty good yards on first down. So a 10-yard average that's Joffrey Reynolds at his best.
When they played on September 15th, I mentioned Roberts' worst game of the year. It was Reynolds' best with 162 yards. 2nd down and 5 and a completion. Elijah Thurman with the catch. And another first down, Calgary.
And this is when Henry Burrs is most relaxed and comfortable, when he gets and establishes Joffrey Reynolds early in a game and Reynolds has some success. Then he can sit back in there in the shotgun, and now Joffrey Reynolds is the guy picking up anybody that might leak through. The Winnipeg Blue Bombers pass rush is slowed down because they're watching number 21, and Henry Burrs has plenty of time to complete that first down throw.
Ball at the 26, Stampeders driving. 5 receivers in. They fake to Reynolds, the option toss. A little dangerous, and Kenyon Rambo does well just to maintain possession.
You know, when you think about Joffrey Reynolds and what he's done this year, it's pretty amazing because, you know, Mike Pringle has the all-time record for yards rushing in a single season. That was set back in 1998. Now, had Joffrey Reynolds, or after this game, had the same amount of carries, 347, as Mike Pringle that year, Reynolds would actually be the record holder in the Canadian Football League. Mike Pringle in 94 would have just beat him, and Willie Burden holds the Calgary record. If he had the same amount of rushes as Burden, he would have beat him as well.
2nd and 7, and the draw to Joffrey Reynolds, and he busts a tackle down to the 10, a first down, and he chews up more valuable yardage.
Yeah, and I don't know what I like more about Joffrey Reynolds. Do you like his power? Do you like his hard-nosed power in the middle? Do you like his great speed and agility to the outside? Or how about his vision? Because there is no hole. Baron Simpson fills the hole, the point of attack, and you see Joffrey Reynolds with a shifty move laterally as he's going downhill to keep his momentum forward.
5 carries, 54 yards here in the opening quarter. First down at the 10. More Joffrey Reynolds.
Oh, another great move.
Down to the 3. Well, let's call it the 4. 6 for Reynolds on that carry. You talk about all his attributes, and how about the confidence? It was 2nd and 7, and they don't mind handing the ball off.
Well, absolutely, and that really keeps the defense guessing. I mean, when you think 2nd and 7, you think pass on defense, and you're getting ready, if you're a defensive lineman, for your best pass rush move. And when you do that, it can take you out of a running lane, but that's some pretty shifty running by Joffrey Reynolds.
6 more. 2nd and goal. Fake to Reynolds. And now into the end zone. Burris, touchdown. Jermaine Copeland with the catch. And now Copeland with 9 touchdowns in 9 games against Winnipeg. He knows how to find the end zone against the Bombers.
And you know, Joffrey Reynolds on the play action gives Henry Burris just one steamboat long enough to complete that touchdown throw to Jermaine Copeland. You see how Gavin Walls on the outside had to freeze. He froze for that one split second, and that was just enough time for Burris to get it out there, and he strong-armed that baby to Copeland.
Burris regains the league lead in touchdown passes. His 23rd of the year, DeAngelis to add the extra point. And the Calgary Stampeders strike first with just under 4 minutes to go. First quarter in Winnipeg. Oh, good, thanks.
Well, that was great, Joffrey, there, man. That was great to set this up.
Sorry? Oh, that's better.
Oh, here, yeah. I'll do
that.
some of that, too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's all we need. Yeah. The suits gets one. Perfect.
I'm with you, bud. I'm with you. Oh, that's good.
Yeah, that is good.
Yep, go. I got him there, yep. Roll it. Puts on the brakes there. Had he stepped up and just gone right to the quarterback, he makes the big hit. I get a double line on my telestrator. You guys don't on the screen, though, I don't think. Okay.
What's the recipe for that?
I do. Comes back. Okay, that's great. He goes down the field, pushes him, and then comes back on Ike Charlton. Okay, good.
CFL on TSN is brought to you by the all-new 2007 GMC Sierra, GMC Professional Grade, and by Coors Light, the Silver Bullet.
Well, it was capped by Copeland, but how about Joffrey Reynolds? 6 carries, 60 yards on that 8-play, 91-yard scoring drive.
And he says he doesn't care about the rushing title. He's trying to widen the gap.
Albert Johnson, good collisions on this kick return, and Johnson brought down at the 38-yard line.
Well, let's take a look at that play action. There's Gavin Walls right here. Now watch as he comes up the field. If he goes straight to the quarterback, he has a sack. But that play action, that freezes him there. Now, if he keeps going, he's got Burris right in the backfield. But see how he's frozen because of the play action? Now he takes that extra split second and gets it outside to Jermaine Copeland. There's Copeland right there in your screen. And watch how he pushes down the field on Ike Charlton and then comes back to the goal line. Young receivers come back to the football, create separation between you and the defensive back.
See how Winnipeg responds. Some early movement on the left side of that Bomber offensive line.
Yeah, for young receivers who are running routes, watch that guy. You can watch him. You can learn something from Milt Stiegel.
Procedure, Winnipeg, 66, 5-yard penalty, still first down.
But when you're route running and you're running an out, you got to come back to the football like Copeland did. And Stiegel's done it at least 135 times where he's come back to the football. And that's how many touchdowns he has. Just 2 away from tying the record, 3 from passing.
Garrick Jones moved early, so it's 1st and 15. And that ball incomplete as Tony Tillard knocked the ball out of the hands of the receiver.
Yeah, and it looked like Kevin Glenn just kind of making it up as he went along the sideline. Here's Milt Stiegel using his vision on the quarterback and just trying to create an opening and an area and a target for Kevin Glenn, but that ball kind of led him right to the sideline.
So Stiegel in the lineup with Derek Armstrong for the second time. First time was in the Montreal game, which was Armstrong's debut in a game that Stiegel was hurt in. suffering an MCL sprain. Here comes the rush on 2nd and 15. Chris Brazel crossing right, trying to cut it upfield to the 44, but he'll be 3 short of the first down. Brazel trying to make the transition inside to make room for all these weapons, including Stiegel and Armstrong.
Chris Brazel has a unique opportunity tonight because it was basically a coin flip for Doug Barry between, and that's what he said, that's his words in the newspaper, between playing Chris Brazel and Kwame Cavill. And I found it kind of interesting, the decision he made, because Chris Brazel in his last 3 games has had 6 catches for 68 yards. Kwame Cavill in his last game had 4 for 94. So production-wise, you'd think maybe Kwame Cavill.
Your read between the lines is Howell takes the return that maybe Cavill's get one last shot to impress the coach. No, Brazel. Brazel has one last shot.
I can fix that.
Gonna fix that for me?
I can fix that.
Thank you. Please do. Stamp start at their own 30. After that 91-yard touchdown drive, why not go back to the man who keyed it? Reynolds with 4.
I agree with you, Chris. I mean, Doug Barry, just to wrap up that point, and maybe Kwame Cavill plays in the last game of the season for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. That's his last opportunity, and tonight maybe Brazel's to try and win that job going into that playoff game, because he said that's how close it was between the 2 receivers.
Deferring to Brazel this week, maybe because he's the guy that's been here all year, but clearly Brazel has not established himself yet. But Winnipeg now has a nice set of weapons. Henry Burris has plenty at his disposal. 2nd down, and that is caught by Rambo close to the first down at the 40, as he's matched up again against Ike Charlton.
You know, this Calgary football team, when you look at their offense, the one thing they've got to be pretty confident about is how they distribute the football to their receivers. I mean, when you look across the board, Nick Lewis, 74 catches. You got Jermaine Copeland, he's got 51 catches. Elijah Thurman, 55 catches. And then Kenyon Rambo with 47 catches. All 4 receivers all have 5 touchdowns coming into this game. Now Copeland has his 6th. So that's great distribution and getting the ball to all your weapons.
Nice balance, the option, and the flip here to Rambo. 2nd time they've tried that, and great pursuit by Ike Charlton, who seems to be spying Kenyon Rambo in this first quarter.
But, you know, I think this Blue Bomber football team on defense are pretty good from sideline to sideline in run stopping. Ike Charlton is one of my favorite players in the league this year because he's a converted defensive back who is strong enough to play the run with great speed to the outside. And look at how quickly he closed the ground to get there on Kenyon Rambo. That's where their strength is. I mean, they're good in the middle with Doug Brown and Ron Warner on the line, and then their linebacking core, has that speed to the outside.
2nd and 10, and 4 receivers to this near side. Pressure on, and Burris hurried it and throws incomplete. That is the final play of the opening quarter, with the Calgary Stampeders generating the lone points.
Let's do it without.
Yeah. We don't want to give them.
I don't want to give them any.
Oh, you know what I've done though?
What?
I don't have my pin.
Oh, I got one.
Good, thanks.
Yeah, you see them all jumping around. I like that strategy in some ways. The only thing it might do is catch you occasionally in a running play. You're all kind of standing straight up, but. Oh, sorry.
Runny nose.
Okay. How many yards for Joffrey?
60, I think.
64.
63. Oh, that's right. He had
63 yards.
And Roberts?
So he has all their 29.
Stamps lead by a touchdown after 1 quarter. And first quarter stats brought to you by Rona, proud league-wide sponsor of the CFL.
6 first downs for the Calgary Stampeders in the rushing derby. 64 of the 75 rushing yards for Calgary by Joffrey Reynolds. All 29 of the Winnipeg rushing yards by Charles Roberts.
And the 1 turnover, the fumble by Kevin Glenn, when it looked like Roberts was establishing something on the first Winnipeg possession.
Yeah, and turnovers this time of year often are the difference between winning and losing, so we'll see how that works out for the rest of the game. But the Winnipeg Blue Bombers clearly have to start to get something going on offense. This is a very important football game for them with home field on the line, and think about the revenue that could be generated by a home field playoff game.
Again, they got some help last night from Saskatchewan, and that always plays strange here when Saskatchewan helps Winnipeg, and then got help today with the Edmonton victory over Doug Barry's old team, the Montreal Alouettes. Now the Bombers want to help themselves. And they'll get the ball back as Brooke Dales gets set to punt with the wind at his back in this second quarter. High in the air. And it'll be good field position for the Blue Bombers next possession. And stay tuned for the second half of our Wendy's CFL on TSN doubleheader. Hamilton Ticats taking on the Lions in BC. It's coming up next here on TSN. Second last weekend of the regular season and Hamilton's final game.
Well, the Edmonton Eskimos played very well against Montreal earlier this afternoon, winning and beating the Alouettes in Montreal. And you want to win your last game. If it's the last game of the regular season or the Grey Cup, you want to win your last game.
There's Charles Roberts starting straight up the middle, close to the 49-yard line. And Roberts has 6. Well, you mentioned that Joffrey Reynolds doesn't talk a lot about winning the rushing title. This guy wears it on his sleeve as he goes after his 3rd in 4 years.
Well, and it's important, too. I mean, when you think about the rushing title is one thing, and again, the two players don't play against each other, so we're really just comparing the two. But, for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers as a team, when Roberts gets his 100, they win more than they lose in a big way.
Second down, Glenn with lots of time. Gunning for Armstrong, and Derek Armstrong's got another. No! Dropped the ball as Lysak and Reinhardt somehow knocked it loose. Well, I think Armstrong's going to argue it. We may take another look.
Yeah, and I think he's going to argue that he had it in his hands and was down by contact, and Lysak kept fighting for it on the ground and then ripped it out of there. There's all kinds of talk all season long about this particular play and what constitutes a catch and what doesn't. Now, does Derek Armstrong have control of the football as he goes down by contact? I'm not sure that he does. I mean, this one looks like he's got it up around his head, and when he hits the ground, it bounces out. Now, according to the officials, the receiver has to have control of the football after he hits the ground and maintain control of the football. I'm not sure that he did.
Yeah, and no challenge, and I think that the precedent set this year would convince Doug Barry that one wasn't worth throwing the flag. No. Too bad, it would have been a 41-yard gain. Boy, that guy got a heavy foot. Kicked it out of the end zone from 30.
No. I got Lyle here. Do you want? You see us now? Okay. Okay. He's gonna throw it.
Early second quarter here in Winnipeg. Let's join Sean Churchill.
Thank you very much, Chris. I'm joined by Blue Bomber President Lyle Bauer. Lyle, in just under a month, the biggest show in Canada comes to Winnipeg. Is the city ready?
I think we're ready. Everything's starting to work out, certainly with the halftime announcement the other day with Nelly Furtado coming in there, and the organizing committee is ready to go, and I think it's going to be a great, great event. We still have some tickets for sale and encourage everybody to get them, but it'll be a great event, there's no question.
With the turnaround of the franchise this year, what type of buzz has that created?
Well, it has. We started out with 5-2, and then we hit a little skid with some significant injuries and that, which took a little steam out of it. But our guys are playing well, and we believe very confidently now that coming out of the East, we have a very good chance against Toronto or Montreal. Doesn't matter.
Thank you very much. I'll see you on November 19th.
Absolutely. Be there.
Back up to you.
And that message for fans out there still wondering about tickets, there's where to call or head to the CFL Grey Cup internet site.
Yeah, and they're approaching that sellout, and you want to get your tickets because all of a sudden the Saskatchewan Roughriders could somehow make it out of the West, and those babies will be being scalped for quadruple the amount if that happened.
And with what we've seen this weekend so far, this home team could very well be.
Hey, without question, you think about that. I mean, yesterday the Toronto Argonauts, last night, on offense, on defense looked very good, but on offense just looked terrible. The Montreal Alouettes did not play well earlier today. This Winnipeg Blue Bomber football team is kind of like Saskatchewan in the West. No one's really giving them a chance, but they could very easily move through the playoffs and end up in the Grey Cup at home. And again, if Saskatchewan or Calgary gets to the Grey Cup, for instance, just think about the people that are going to make the trip to Winnipeg. That's why those tickets, there's a few left, but go get them quickly, because that, depending on the team, that could end in a hurry.
Third down, and Calgary punting from deep in their own zone. Burke Dales almost had that one blocked, and this one goes out inside Calgary's 50-yard line. Great field position for the Bombers.
Of course, no one in Manitoba heard that.
Yeah, I'm still banking on that they've lifted it, but I guess they didn't, eh? No.
That is
I guess I'm just Pollyanna. I figured, common sense would prevail, but he was designing T-shirts, I guess, was he?
That is classic. Yeah, sure. Yeah. Either way, both ways. Stiegel, we got Stiegel. Okay, just milk. Okay, good. Yeah, that's good. No, that's good. That's all the only point I wanted to make there.
Closed captioning of the CFL on TSN is brought to you by Castrol. It's more than just oil, it's liquid engineering.
Just a 30-yard punt by Burke Dales. So the Bombers are set up at the Stampeder 48, trailing 7-0 as we approach 4 minutes of the second quarter. And Roberts takes the handoff and tries to get outside. Charles Roberts to the 42. 6 for Roberts. He has 41 in the game. He had 47 yards in the final 3 minutes last week in Hamilton, and those weren't cheap yards. Those kept the ball out of the hands of the Tiger Cats to preserve a victory. Well, that's why this race tonight, it'll go down to the final seconds to see who gets the upper hand.
Well, and that's what running backs, it's the back half of the game that is important. It's the last 5 carries where they almost always get their big yards when defenses have worn down.
2nd and 4, makes fake. Kevin Glenn can't hook up with Stiegel. And again, a drive stalls.
You know, Kevin Glenn had time on the outside, and Stiegel's angle made it a difficult throw, probably more difficult than it had to be. And I'm not suggesting that Milt Stiegel ran the wrong route. He just doesn't do that. But it just the way it worked out, you see Stiegel come across the middle. He goes from the right side of the formation all the way. And to see that angle made it a tough throw. It made the target just the side of his shoulder pad and not really a big target for Kevin Glenn to get to. So he had time. He had the throwing lane. He had an open guy. It was just a funny angle to get the ball in.
Bombers won't try a 49-yarder into the wind. Instead, Westwood looking for the corner, and he will get it. Westwood will put this one out, and they will mark it inside the 20 at the 18-yard line. He would have liked a little more, but gets Calgary backed up.
But still a good decision. You know, you angle it out and you play the field position battle, and I know defensively you walk on the field and you're in the other team's end of the field, you feel a lot better about getting aggressive and playing your defense. And again, offensively, when you're in your own end, you know, things get a little tighter. You grip the club a little bit more, so to speak.
I do.
It's kind of like teeing off with water in front of you.
Here's Burris going up top and throws incomplete. Trying to hook up with Nick Lewis.
You know, Barron Simpson, when he signed as a free agent with the Winnipeg Blue Bombers here, he made a bold prediction. He said the Winnipeg defense would be ranked in the top 3 this year, and they have done that. They made a huge turnaround from 2005. You could see the numbers in the key categories and how much they've improved over one season. Yards allowed, they've shaved off over 150 there.
And by the way, yards allowed, they're second. They've allowed 16 yards more than the leaders, the BC Lions. This has been a remarkable turnaround. 2nd and 10, looking for a big defensive play here. Burris scrambling and has to throw it away. More pressure on Henry Burris, this time from Donovan Carter.
Yeah, and a lot of credit has to go to Greg Marshall, who signed here in Winnipeg, and I'm just going to flat out say it. Is someone going to give him a chance to be the next head coach in the league?
You would think
it is his turn.
Next.
It's his time. It is his turn. And I know the Winnipeg Blue Bombers would hate to lose Greg Marshall, but it certainly is his turn and his time to become a head coach. And again, you got to give him a ton of credit for what he has done with this Winnipeg defense. He did pick up Barron Simpson, a couple of key players, but the scheme gets you started, puts you in the position for success, and then the players just have to execute.
Dale's trying to improve on that last kick of 30 yards. And this one over the head of Albert Johnson. It's a beauty, and it'll skip out at the Winnipeg 36. He improved on it, 56 yards.
It's always easier to move forward. It's like an outfielder. It's easier to move forward to the ball than it is to run
Who was the
backwards.
other guy they had back there that time? Somebody different. They had Williams before, but Williams just on the kickoffs.
He's like chewing the road. Ay, 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 ay. To the warning track. Okay, you want to go Milt again on this one, buddy?
CFL on TSN is brought to you by the all-new 2007 GMC Sierra, GMC Professional Grade, and by Coors Light, the Silver Bullet.
Well, a return of Milt Stegall to the Winnipeg offense, hoping to stoke this Bomber offense, but so far just 58 yards in the game as Kevin Glenn. And the Bombers going to work at their own 36-yard line. And Glenn can't find anybody. Now underneath Jimmy Stoddard at the 43. Milt Stegall, of course, 135 touchdowns. 2 short of tying the CFL record and 3 away from making it his own.
And he loves to play against the Calgary Stampeders, so a little surprising that he hasn't had a few catches in this game. Look what he's done against Calgary. You know, Milt Stegall's been a Winnipeg Blue Bomber. This is his 12th season now, and in his entire 12 years in the Canadian Football League, he's played with the Winnipeg Blue Bombers.
2nd and 3, Roberts has 2 to the 45, but they're going to be short, and a decision for Doug Barry.
And Stegall, you know who he reminds me of in the hockey world is Ray Bork. And, you know, Ray Bork, who played in Boston all those years, and everybody wanted Ray Bork to win a championship. Everybody in the country wants Milt Stegall to win a championship. But Milt Stegall has told me many times he doesn't want to do it anywhere but Winnipeg. He's never asked to be traded. He wants, if he wins, to be a Winnipeg Blue Bomber when he puts the ring on. I think there's a lot to be said for that. And, you know, not that I hated what Ray Bork did, and I know he's been such a great player in the National Hockey League, but I would have rather have seen him win it in Boston.
And now Milt looks around with retirement a consideration, but he's seen this team rejuvenated, reloaded. Now it's a contender. And if he doesn't get the record in the next 2 games, I'm not sure that's the decision maker, or whether or not he sees that this team has the potential next year to contend for the Grey Cup if they don't do it this year.
Yeah, and
that'll all factor into a decision on whether or not we see him for a 13th year.
Well, here's hoping.
All we know for sure is he's not going to tell anybody, not right now. Third and less than a yard, but they are punting the ball away. And Marcus Howell, the former Blue Bomber, that is 22, flag down as he is tossed out by Kyrie Sever. I'm not helping you, but that was good.
Legal block, Calgary, number 83, 10-yard penalty, first down.
Okay. Well, this week, NFL on TSN Monday Night Football as the 3-2 Giants taking on the 3-2 Cowboys in Dallas. Coverage begins with Monday Night Countdown at 7:30 Eastern, 4:30 Pacific. Available in TSN High Definition. It was an illegal block on the return, so Calgary backed up. They give the ball to Joffrey Reynolds, and he's tripped up at the 16-yard line. Another tackle for Donovan Carter.
And another example of how quick to the outside and to the perimeter of the Winnipeg linebacking core are with Donovan Carter, Barron Simpson, and Ike Charlton. And the Calgary Stampeders have had more success attacking in the running game between tackles rather than trying to get outside. Other than maybe one run early on by Joffrey Reynolds when he did it basically on his own, they've been better between the tackles than they have to the outside.
Reynolds lunging ahead, getting 4 on the play, 71 on the night. 2nd and 6. Burris short drop, and that one is nearly picked off. Close call as that ball in and out of the hands of Anthony Malbrough. The former Stampeder, 1 of 3 ex-Stamps in the Winnipeg secondary.
He's right on the outside there. He's got 2 receivers right in front of him. He's going to just sit at about 10 yards, and he picks up the short one, Elijah Thurman, and jumps a football. And the timing throw by Henry Burris, who tried to not look at Thurman before he released it and almost got caught.
Malbrough still looking for his first interception. Had one called back against Calgary in mid-September. And Johnson sees that one go out of bounds. Still 7-0 Stamps. Well, the Winnipeg Blue Bombers have beaten every team in the league but 2. One is Calgary, and the other BC, who they have next week. Kevin Glenn ducked under pressure, and that pass incomplete, intended for Milt Stiegel, who says, "Where's the flag?"
Yeah, he thought he got hit before the ball arrived, and that's why the ball came out.
And now he does some jawing with a loud Calgary bench.
It was everything Kevin Glenn could do to avoid the blitz, because Calgary came with a lot of pressure. He had Brian Clark in his face, just tried to sidearm out. There's the contact just before the ball arrived in Milt Stiegel. Stiegel had an argument, but that is not a challengeable call, or no call.
So 2nd and 10. More pressure, and they've got Kevin Glenn. Brian Clark, Krantz, Clemens. There were 3 Stampeders through on Glenn, and they drop him for a big loss.
Well, Brian Clark is in a nice stunt here. He starts out here, but what he's going to do is he's going to work this way, and then after that he comes back and comes underneath, and a pretty nice stunt and timing for Clark. Here he goes a bit to the right, then he comes underneath there, and no one to block Clark and pick up the stunt.
Randy Chevrier also in on the play, a loss of 11. And Westwood. Marcus Howe fields it at his 37. And he is met as he crosses the 40. As we rejoin Sean Churchill.
Thank you very much, Chris. Tonight, the Winnipeg Blue Bombers are hosting 2,500 members of the Canadian military and their family. Actually, it's a special night for some of the family members because some of their loved ones are still over in Afghanistan and have sent special video messages which are being broadcast over the Jumbotron tonight. A special surprise for them, guys.
And we salute our armed forces.
Absolutely, yeah,
We're
absolutely.
able to see some of these broadcasts in Afghanistan, and there will be banners signed here at Canada Stadium, sent overseas to Canada's finest. Swing pass, Reynolds drops the football, incomplete. And for Henry Burris, not that you want to hang that one on Henry, 6 straight incompletions. He's 3 for 11.
Yeah, and they went away from the one drive they had that gave them success, and that was Joffrey Reynolds in between the tackles. They established him a couple of second and longs. They went back to Joffrey Reynolds, and now, you know, they've gone away from him and started to throw on first down, and it's Burris has not had the success. They did change field position, though, with that sack on defense a little bit.
Second down from the Stamp 44. And Burris looks downfield, and this one is picked off. It intercepted by Robert Bean, who's been the super sub for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. That's his 4th interception of the year. Every time somebody goes down, he comes in and gets the job done for the Blue Bombers.
He's leading the team, and this takes a long time. From one hash mark all the way to the far sideline is a long throw, and if you're playing the wide side corner like Robert Bean and you don't quit on the ball, you've got a chance at it. That ball took a long time with that wobble on it to get there. How many steamboats does it take? 1 steamboat, 2 steamboat, 3 seconds to get from that hash mark to the sideline. Robert Bean stuck with it, and he's got himself his 4th interception.
2 of his 4 interceptions have come against Henry Burris, who has tossed 18 now on the year. And the turnover totals are now even. The Glenn fumble and now the Burris interception. Bombers set up at the Calgary 49. Play action. And there's a completion, and Milt Stegall has his first catch of the night, tossed down at the 30-yard line.
And Milt Stegall just said something again to the officials about this one as he breaks on the out. And again, the play action to Charles Roberts. Stegall is open. And right after that catch, he gets up and he said something to the official like, should have had the last one, but we'll take that one. The Winnipeg Blue Bombers certainly have to take advantage of this sudden change in field position.
18 yards, Glenn to Stegall, now out of the bunch formation. Charles Roberts straight ahead to the 25, and Roberts has 5.
Charles Roberts, Joffrey Reynolds, 1 and 2. There's what they've done tonight. 71 yards for Reynolds so far, Roberts 48. Charles Roberts 6 times this year has been over 20 carries. 5 of them, he's had over 100 yards. 1 of them 95. And that's what you talked about when you get those between 15 and 20 carries for good running backs, how important that part of their game is.
Again, this is the last game of the year for Reynolds. Roberts with the game in hand, and Charles Roberts. Great move! Oh boy! That's Charles Roberts, the rushing champion, the defending champion.
Well, you know, the fans have fun watching the move in the open field. The offensive line have fun because they can just lean on that front hand and go and find someone to block, but the picture says it all, folks, right there. A great move in the hole by Charles Roberts. And the Calgary Stampeders on the play defensively had everybody up in the box. I mean, they were ready for run, and even though they were ready and aligned to stop the run, they couldn't stop number 1.
10 on that carry, first down. And back to Roberts inside. You know, he mentioned in Calgary wasn't hitting the hole hard enough, and that has not been the case here. The 3-minute warning been given to the benches with the Bombers threatening.
Stegall time down here, guys.
Yes. Yeah. It's a Kent and Keith move, that one. I guess Chuck Bob's got his own. Doesn't have to be compared with anybody else.
My joints. I feel like I'm 100 years old today.
Just the feet. We just need wool socks or something.
I need what, buddy?
Need boots.
So what is 65 less 24 is 41 yards. It's a 41-yard throw from the hash to the sideline.
Is there another one of those? Great man. Well, be sure to check out the new TSN Interactive, brought to you by Molson Canadian. You can play along with today's game, chat with other viewers, play games, answer skill testing trivia. Just go to tsn.ca. Well, the Winnipeg Blue Bombers now threatening 2nd and 8 at the Calgary 12-yard line. Is this not Milt Stegall territory?
This is it. No backs in the backfield, so there is no run option unless it's quarterback draw.
135 touchdowns on the year. It'll be Chris Brazel territory. Touchdown, Blue Bombers.
Well, Milt Stegall will get the assist on the Chris Brazel touchdown. A nice rub by the Winnipeg Blue Bomber offense and crossing routes to confuse the Calgary defense. And Chris Brazel will outrun the tackle angles to the corner of the end zone. Off the pick or the rub of Milt Stegall.
Westwood for the extra point. It's through, so the Bombers put 7 on the board after the Robert Bean interception.
Where's his guy? You see, you have anything from the other side? Like, his guy is nowhere to be seen. Brazel's. Oh, you know what it is? It's half zone, half man.
We're 2.5 minutes away from halftime, where we'll join the boys. Wendy's at the half with Dave Randorf, Chris Schultz, Matt Dunnigan, Jock Climby. They'll talk about this game and set up Hamilton at BC later tonight.
What a perfect call. Look at this. Man-to-man on this side. That's man-to-man here. That's the matchup. Here's the matchup on the outside. Now you're going to see Brazel on the crossing route coming back from the opposite side of the field. And you know why he's open? Because this is the man side. The zone side for Calgary's over here. There's no one left over there to play, and Brazel runs into the man side without anybody around him. That's a perfect call by the Winnipeg Blue Bomber offense to open up Chris Brazel for the touchdown. Basically, defensively, man on one side, zone on the other. But if you run into the man side, you are wide open.
6th touchdown of the year for Brazel again. A much talked about starter here when he got the call ahead of Kwame Cavill. J.R. Ruffin and Kyrie St. Bear head hunting. Hello. The special teams leader, and he is really racking up the stats in recent weeks. Special team.
It's just that time of year, isn't it? It just gets to that where you just start. It's not good enough to tackle anymore. I mean, now you want to wreak havoc. You want to do damage. And I've seen a couple in this game tonight and over the last couple of weekends. You know the playoffs are near.
First down at the 35. Fake to Reynolds. And Burris throws a completion. Nick Lewis with the catch. Matched up against Anthony Malbrough.
Henry Burris now working the short side of the field after being intercepted trying to throw to the wide side of the field. By the way, it's a 41-yard throw for Henry Burris to go from one hash mark all the way across the other hash mark to the wide side. So this time he goes to the short side of the field, which is only 24 yards from there. So basically, if you're going from here all the way across to that opposite side, the hash mark, that's 41 yards. The short side just 24.
First completion after 7, incomplete, or the one interception. Now Burris dancing and throwing, and back to Nick Lewis. And they're going to confer, is it a catch or not?
One said catch, one waved it off.
And now they're waving it incomplete. Nick Lewis with 5 for 118 in the first meeting against the Bombers.
Clearly, Steve Barato has said, let's start working the short side of the field. It's a shorter throw, and that's a nice catch on the sideline. That right foot come down on the white stripe for Nick Lewis. He looked like he lifted the left and kept the right down.
Tried to drag that.
Take one more look at it.
Right.
The ball's in his hand now. That left foot is in the air, and the right toe looks like it is inbounds. And is that a catch or not? Henry Burr's going to call a timeout because
somebody just saw that replay, and they're going to call a timeout. Well, maybe he's just calling a timeout to confer, but it does give Calgary another opportunity as Nick Lewis continues to debate the issue.
It looked like when he came across there, the left foot definitely was on the stripe out of bounds, but then he lifted that left foot up when he went to catch the ball, and as the ball went into his hands, it looked like the right foot was inbounds. Let's take one more look. Now look right about here. That left foot is inbounds, but the ball's not in his hands yet. Now the ball comes up, the ball is in his hands, and the right toe is inbounds. And there it's on the ground, and we thought it was inbounds.
And now the challenge flag has just been tossed as they broke the huddle, and that probably was the replay that convinced the spotters upstairs that Tom Higgins might have a case.
Yeah, and it's a big play and it's good yardage, and why not take a look at it?
Give Tom Higgins credit for being a man of conviction. He talked to us last week. He doesn't believe in throwing the challenge flag just to get a free timeout. And he could have thrown it earlier, but now finally he's got enough information from upstairs.
Pass completion saying the pass was caught inbounds.
That maybe they can get that ruling overturned. But he has expressed concern about video replay. He thinks it's working better than he expected, but he doesn't like the freebies coaches are taking around the league just to get free timeouts.
Yeah, he did. He said that to me as well, that he is actually going to bring that up, as well as everyone will in the rules committee in the offseason, to try and find a way to eliminate trying to get a free timeout. But I think Tom Higgins, I'll take it even a step further. I think Tom Higgins has completely changed his opinion. I mean, before it started the season, he didn't like the idea of instant replay at all. And now I think he's convinced that it's an important tool to help the officials get it right. And we'll see how they rule on this one. Very close on the sideline, but I thought that the official may have been fooled in that Nick Lewis's left foot did touch the line, but he lifts it up, and that right toe drags inbounds. And I mean, there's two officials on the spot that have a real good look at it. The ball's just getting in his hands now, and the left foot is up off the turf.
What Ken Lazarick also has to determine, at what point does he have control of that football in his hands? It looks like it's there.
You see that toe there. That toe, there looks like there's green inside of the right toe of Nick Lewis.
Upon review, the Calgary receiver did have his foot in bounds. Yeah. It's a completed pass.
So it is a first down, and now the Bombers are going to work. Doug Barry doesn't agree with it even after the video.
And he smiles as he turned around after he yelled at the official. But Nick Lewis makes a nice catch there, and this is why, and this is why I love instant replay. I mean, now can you challenge?
He's going back under though, which is unusual. I think this was the site of the most important video replay call of the year, and that was the Arlen Bruce touchdown that gave the Argos a win. If there hadn't been video replay, very likely Winnipeg would have won that game, and they would have still had a chance to finish first in the CFL East. However, the right call was made after the video challenge, and that's what we're trying to do here, is get it right.
And the reason they went back and looked there is probably just where they're going to spot the football.
First down at the 15.5-yard line.
There it is. They want to make sure that they're accurate on the spot of the football because they had reset it, ruling that incomplete. So now they're back to exactly where Nick Lewis went out of bounds. First down, Calgary.
14-yard gain for Lewis. His second reception of this drive. 2:12 remaining in this first half, and a pitch to Reynolds, trying to get outside, and Kelly Melville cut him off at the pass and drops him for a loss back at midfield.
I tell you what, when you go sideline to sideline, you play into the hands of the defenders. if this look at the shoulders right there. That's the way they're facing. If you get those shoulders facing that way by Joffrey Reynolds, you've got Joffrey Reynolds at a disadvantage. See the shoulders? The shoulders are going to the sideline. And now you got defenders chasing him down. Nowhere for Joffrey Reynolds to run. That's not Reynolds' game. Reynolds' game is north-south.
Lost 5. 2nd and 15. Burris rolling, and he guns it complete. And the catch made by Marcus Howell, brought down by Barron Simpson, the CFL tackle leader, coming in with 98. And a first down and a big completion by Burris here in the late stages of the first half.
Completion possible because of the block of Joffrey Reynolds. He's going to step out to the outside, and there's a guy. Look at this. Good cut block right there. He doesn't make that block, and the defender goes right through to Henry Burris and doesn't allow that throw. A nice throw on the run, but without that block, it's not possible.
At the Bomber 35, they fake the pitch and give it inside. And Wes Cates going nowhere as he's stopped up, and Simpson now for sure has at least 100 tackles on the season. And his first 100 tackle year since his rookie campaign when he led the league with 115.
That was 2001 with the BC Lions, and Barron Simpson flows to the football, one of the best run stoppers in the Canadian Football League, and you know, coming on the heels of a night where Michael O'Shea gets 1,000 tackles from the Toronto Argonauts. Congratulations to him and his great career. It will continue. Barron Simpson, similar guy. Great run stopper.
2nd and 10. Quick hitter out there for Rambo. Bean got enough of him, and he is downed. And Robert Bean with another defensive play that forces 3rd down here for the Stampeders.
But Henry Burris with the challenge, which was a good challenge. Basically a couple of first downs, 2 throws, and now has a field goal opportunity for Sandro DeAngelis, who's got a little pace of his own going this year.
The review, though, sustained the drive, and they get into field goal range with that overturned play and a 19-yarder to Marcus Howell. And Sandro DeAngelis can now come in and try and set a Calgary Stampeder record that he shares with Mark McLaughlin. 54, the Stampeder record for most field goals in a season. Looking for number 55 here from 43 yards out. And just tucked it in. Little body English and a new CFL or Calgary standard for field goals. Within 4 of Ridgeway now. "40 seconds remaining here in the opening half. It's 10-7 Calgary. After the 43-yarder that just went 43 by DeAngelis, Kevin Glenn just got it away. And has a completion to Brazel, who has the touchdown. Lysak bringing him down. Now let's take another look at how DeAngelis just got enough.
55th field goal of the year for Sandro DeAngelis, who in the last 5 games has now hit 18 of 19 field goals, tucks that just over the bar. And he's closing in on Dave Ridgway's record.
That's the Ridgway Suter mark at 59, set in 1990.
Whoa.
Kevin Glenn lost his footing, gets up, throws it away. Well, look for Chris Brazel, who was not looking back at the quarterback.
Well, Brazel thought the play was over. I mean, he thought that Kevin Glenn went down, but Glenn went down on his own, and I don't believe he was touched by any Calgary Stampeder defender. He just, the turf monster got him from behind.
You wonder, he's wearing the brace on the left knee, and whether or not that had any impact on the play as he tries to adjust to that, coming off a knee sprain of his own.
He did avoid a loss, though. That could have been a big loss.
Second and 10 from the 50. More pressure. Stands up and delivers high. Trying to hook up with Derek Armstrong with 15 seconds to go. And instead the punt unit has to come on for Winnipeg.
Kevin Glenn now using a lot of crossing routes. We're seeing 4 receivers out here. They're all going to be hitting the line of scrimmage at the same time, and then they're going to shoot across the field in layers. There's the underneath layer, there's an over top layer, there's a trail layer, and coming from the left side, the single receiver side, there's one in the intermediate zone. So they're trying to flood the middle of the field and figure out which one of those guys is going to be the open receiver. He had one, he just overthrew him. In Armstrong.
Howell at the 25. And he's brought down at the 29-yard line. Stevie Baggs with good pursuit. 6 seconds to go, and then we'll be joining the boys who were at Rogers Center last night. And by my calculation, after 2 kicks for $1 million, the only one of those 4 who hasn't been able to motivate the kicker to be successful is Matt Dunnigan.
Yeah,
he's 0 for 2.
I noticed that. I don't know if maybe Matt's not a kicking coach. I don't know.
And he might not mind.
But that's a 40-yarder. That's a tougher one,
yep.
right? That's.
But Randorf got it done last year from 50.
He did. That's true. Yeah.
This year Schultz and Climbing from 20 and 30. One last play, maybe a dangerous one to Copeland with Robert Bean in the neighborhood. Boy, that's an interesting play for the final play of the half. Well, defense seems to be the order of the weekend. 10-7 Calgary, halftime in Winnipeg.
Yeah, check that 1, 2. 1, 2. Okay. Right here. Okay. Okay. All right. Tom, after the first half, you have the lead. How much longer will we see Henry Burris and Joffrey Reynolds? Will you pull them?
No, right now we're playing the game to win. People came here to be entertained. We think it's important to try to win on the road. We have a bye. They were, for whatever reason, at the end of this regular season, we still get a week off. So right now we're going to play this close to our vest and not make any changes right now.
No changes at all, even though Winnipeg's moving the ball late in that second quarter?
Well, that's a good football team we're playing, so let's give them some credit. But you know what? We want the mindset that we got to go and finish the football game.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Tom, after the first half, you have the lead. How much longer will we see?
Good. Can I try it quickly? Perfect. Perfect. Is that true? Is that true? Hey, what's that thing in there? What's that for?
What are the two quarterbacks again? What did you say? Thanks. Somebody else.
What are you guys talking about?
Oh. Defensive first half sees Calgary with a 10-7 lead at Canadian Stadium, and John Churchill is with the Calgary head coach.
Tom, after the first half, you have the lead. How much longer will we see Henry Burris and Joffrey Reynolds? Will you pull them?
No, right now we're playing the game to win. People came here to be entertained. We think it's important to try to win on the road. We have a bye. For whatever reason, at the end of this regular season, we still get a week off. So right now, we're going to play this close to our vest and not make any changes right now.
No changes at all, even though Winnipeg's moving the ball late in that second quarter?
Well, that's a good football team we're playing, so let's give them some credit. But you know what? We want the mindset that we got to go and finish the football game.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
It's a good point by Tom Higgins that while Doug Barry, who still, I think, is arguing the overruled or the video challenge by the Stampeders that helped set up the late field goal by Calgary, while Doug Barry's still got a lot at stake, they can still finish second in the CFL East. Calgary is going to finish second in the CFL West, but they've got the bye and don't play again until November the 5th. Had they finished first, it might have been a real problem for the Stampeders, having to go 3 weeks without a game. And I know Tom Higgins was concerned about that possibility even before it became clear that they were not going to finish first in the West.
Yeah, and I like what he said about, we want to start winning on the road too, because yes, they host a semifinal, but if they win that game, and I'm saying if, a lot of people aren't saying if, some are saying when, but if they win that game against the Saskatchewan Roughriders, then they'll have to win on the road to get to the Grey Cup. So this is an important game for them.
Grey Cup will go through BC for a Western team. We're not sure where it will go through in the East. We do know it ends up here at Canadian Stadium, and the Bombers get their hands on the football first in the second half. And both quarterbacks coming off 300-yard games last week. Well, they got some work to do it again this week.
Yeah, this time of year, we've seen big hits on special teams. Teams start to become, and players start to become more aggressive. They start to go after people. And also the defense is ramping up a little bit. And you can see Henry Burris and Kevin Glenn with just 79 and 68 yards passing. The defenses have stepped it up in this first half. Let's see what happens in the second and what the adjustments will be made by the offenses.
The other matchup, 66 for Reynolds, 61 for Roberts. In the opening half, it was early advantage for Joffrey Reynolds, and now Charles Roberts, he's got the advantage. A first down run of 16 yards across midfield to the Calgary 54.
The key to this play for Charles Roberts is if you could seal the corner, and this is the corner that they have to seal right here. If Roberts can get out around that wall right there and Brian Clark, and he just does, now he's got some room and some opening to the sideline. Brian Clark is the key. He got caught in the mix just for a split second, and that's all Blink needs.
5 straight 1,000-yard seasons. He calls that gold. You get gold for 1,000, but it's platinum when you get to 1,500. He's working on a platinum record here, and he's closing in 5 more to the 49-yard line. And he started the night 91 short of 1,500, and you can see he's now within 9.
And again, just for the record, Charles Roberts, when he gets 100 yards, the team is 26-5. Joffrey Reynolds, not the same for the Calgary Stampeders for him when it comes to 100-yard games for him. In fact, Winnipeg was the last time Joffrey Reynolds had a 100-yard game. 162 the last time these two teams played 5 games ago.
So Reynolds with a 42-yard lead, but again, Charles Roberts will try and cut into it, and he has a game in hand, and Roberts has a first down at the 43.
The importance of the little fake from Scott Reginbow right here, who lines up here, and he's going to come this way, and then Roberts comes around this way, and he heads off in that direction, and that little fake will just freeze defenders enough. You can see on the outside, Demetrius Maxey there, he just kind of froze for a second, and that gave Charles Roberts a chance to bounce outside of 91 and get right to the sideline. And importance of Scott Reginbow at the fullback spot.
You know, there was a similar play last week. He scored a touchdown. It was originally ruled by the statisticians as a pass, touchdown pass by Glenn, a reception by Roberts. They took a look at it during the week, and they ruled it a lateral, and it counted to his rushing totals. The only problem was his totals at the end of the day finished the same because they found out going over all the plays that there had been a 15-yard play counted that was actually called back on a penalty. So,
so it was
a win, but it was a loss, and in the end, he ended up even. They found one more yard for Roberts that hadn't been attributed, and it may come down to 1 or 2 yards before this rushing title is determined. First down. There he goes. Little magic for Charles Roberts. Over 1,500 and a lot more down the sidelines and finally forced out.
And Khalid Abdullah, who's a great tackler in the open field, the young linebacker, very athletic, is right now trying to gather up his shoes, his jock. Where are my pants? I've left it all right in the midfield, right there, because that move to the outside left him grabbing at air. Charles Roberts has done that to some of the best tacklers in the Canadian Football League, and he is over 1,500 for the 4th straight season.
Just went platinum. And his 8th 100-yard game of the season. Bombers 6-1 when he rushes for 100 this year. 26-6 in his career. A little more of Czech Diesel.
The flag way over in the far corner. It's from the back judge way back there. He saw something. I think it's going against Calgary. Milt Stiegel's been in conversation with those guys all game long, hasn't he?
He has been animated tonight in his return to the Winnipeg lineup.
Offside, Calgary, number 91, 5-yard penalty, first down.
Demetrius Maxey, who's moved inside with the injury to Sheldon Napastuk, called for the offside, so they'll take the penalty. It's 1st and 5 at the 15. Bombers looking good on this drive as they have ridden their running back, Charles Roberts, and continue to do so. 5 more. And that could put Roberts into the lead in the rushing race right now. And if he leads at the end of the night, he's the defending and reigning champion.
Well, that's right, because Joffrey Reynolds is in his last game of the regular season. Of course, Charles Roberts will travel to BC Place Stadium for one more game.
So he's within 9, closing in.
Boy, it was when these two teams played, it was all Joffrey Reynolds, but Charles Roberts is speaking up tonight.
2nd and short. Back to Roberts, and he'll have the first down.
You see what happened there, though. You see how quickly the Calgary defense collapsed on him, and that, if you're a Winnipeg offensive coach right now, you're putting that in the back of your mind. Watch how quickly the collapse comes from this side right here as they look and now just hone in on number 1. See how quickly they're collapsing that side of the defense? Now what that opens up for Winnipeg and for Kevin Glenn is that bootleg for Glenn to fake it inside to Roberts and then take it outside and get the corner with the option to either run or pass. Roberts picks up the first down.
Just by a nose of the football, but a first down nonetheless. It's 1st and goal just inside the 10, and it's a solid Winnipeg drive. The first time they've really marched like this tonight, and we always get back to it. It seems to be a correlation. When Roberts gets the ball, the Bombers drive the football.
That's their adjustment in the second half. Number 1.
He did not have a rushing yard in the 3rd quarter last week in Hamilton. Kevin Glenn to the end zone. Touchdown, 136. Milts one away. It could be an historic night here at Canadian Stadium. Don't go away.
It feels like it's warming up right now in the stadium. Milt Stegall on the out. He gets some help from Kevin Glenn, who turns his shoulders the opposite direction to influence the defense, and there it is. 136 for Milt Stegall.
Extra point by Westwood. And this game sees Winnipeg on top.
Okay, let's see it. You can replay that end zone to show Kevin Glenn influence, but Stegall's the first priority, buddy. Whatever you got. Yeah, good. Go ahead, go. Oh, way inside position and off him. It's called a bang route. They played zone down there. They played zone. Go ahead, run it again. Does the corner come off? No, they're in man. He just saw the ball. No, they're in. Yeah, no, they're in man. Okay, no, that's good.
Do you have the game-by-games for Winnipeg, please? No, the stat one? Yeah, thanks.
CFL on TSN is brought to you in part by Holiday Inn Hotels, the official business hotel of the CFL. With free high-speed internet in every room, the office is just a click away.
7th touchdown of the season. First in 4 games that Milt has played, and of course he missed the last game with injury. Last touchdown was in the Banjo Bowl, but now one away from the great George Reed and Mike Pringle.
He ran the bang light.
J.R. Ruffin. And Ruffin dropped at the 26-yard line. Sean Gallant with the tackle.
In his familiar slot back position, that's where Milt Stegall will start right there, and here's his pattern. He comes down, inside fake, and then bang outside. Perfectly executed pass route by Milt Stegall, and you expect nothing less. Look at that, bang back out, twirl the hips around, Touchdown, Milt Stegall, 136. And look how Kevin Glenn has his shoulders facing the right side of the formation and then whips him around, knowing he's going to his go-to guy.
Now the Stampeders go to their guy. And their horse takes it up to the 35-yard line. What a classic Bomber drive that was. And capped by the man who's within one of the all-time lead. But it was 9 plays, 70 yards. Charles Roberts, 54 on the ground, and then you go to 85 in the end zone. Second and 3 after the 7-yard carry by Reynolds. Play action. And that ball incomplete. Robert Bean close to another pick.
Henry Burris wanted Kenyon Rambo to come back to the football. And we talked about that a couple times. Stegall came back to the football. Kenyon Rambo, go ahead and run it, guys. Watch how Kenyon Rambo up on the outside. He sits up there at the 45-yard line and floats backwards. And Robert Bean comes underneath. And right after the throw, Henry Burris started waving at Kenyon Rambo saying, you know, come back and fight back to the football because I'm going to lead you back towards the line of scrimmage. And Bean almost had his second in the night.
Dales kicks into the wind. Bouncing around, and Albert Johnson will get the no yards. Khalid Abdullah was inside the 5-yard restraining area. Milt's coming back.
No yards. Calgary, number 45. 5-yard penalty. First down.
What yard line were they on? What was it?
That was the 9, wasn't it?
9, so a 9-yard touchdown.
It was just inside the 10. It was first and goal.
Okay.
Was the 10? Okay, we counted 10.
10-yard touchdown. Okay.
Closed captioning of the CFL on TSN is brought to you by Castrol. It's more than just oil, it's liquid engineering.
Well, the man who this week said, I'm humble but special, is not going to let a couple of running backs steal the show tonight. We thought this was the showdown between Charles Roberts and Joffrey Reynolds. And 85 said, wait a minute, I might just make CFL history tonight. Bombers go back to work on offense, and Charles Roberts on the ground. Flag down as Roberts dances for a couple.
Well, we've seen so many great touchdowns from Milt Stegall. You know, so many of them have been those big plays over the top that he has just absolutely run away from defenders throughout his great 12-year career. And if you break it down, 136 touchdowns.
Winnipeg, number 21, 10-yard penalty. First down repeated. 40
of those touchdowns over 50 yards. You look at the average around 33.6. That's a big play. And how about when it's clutch time for Milt Stegall? 55 of his 136 touchdowns have been in the fourth quarter. 41%. I mean,
that really is amazing.
That is amazing. When they needed him most all his career, they've leaned on 85, and he has come through.
Reichenbald called for holding, so it's 1st and 20. Back at the 38. Glenn stands in, and that ball batted out of the hands of Adam Eckert. Incomplete. Well, Labor Day last year, he became the touchdown king among all CFL receivers against the Saskatchewan Roughriders.
That's the big play I'm talking about. No one catches him. And how about the concentration on that catch? You know, and that's one thing. When I talk to DBs around the league that they say about Milt Stegall, they say, you know, the one guy, he doesn't look like he's fast until he has the ball in his hands and you're looking at his name tag.
2nd and 20, and Glenn under pressure, Brazel. And Brazel brought down quickly by the newcomer Rodriguez, but a flag late on the play.
Gail Robidet, I think, came over there. May have been a little late on the pile.
Number 1 pick overall, a couple years back.
See, because this would be a
Major foul, necessary roughness, Calgary, number 53, 15-yard penalty, first down.
Oh, it's Raheem Abdullah.
Raheem Abdullah away from the play, and
well, it would have been 3rd and 19.
And Abdullah away from the play on the unnecessary roughness. That's an automatic first down for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Tom Higgins wants to try and get an explanation.
So the ball moved to the 52. And a fresh set of downs for this Bomber offense that drove the field on their last possession to assume the lead. We're 7 minutes into the 3rd quarter. Back to Charlie Roberts, and Abdullah's got him wrapped and tosses him down behind the line of scrimmage.
That was for the last one. Remember the last series when Charles Roberts took that running play and he broke into the open field and made a sweet move on Khalid Abdullah and left him kind of grabbing at air. And that little throw down at the end of that one was just now it's my turn. I finally got my arms around you. I got you wrapped up finally. So I'm going to finish it off. And just a little extra on this one. Just say, I'm a pretty good tackler too.
Abdullah has earned a spot at the outside linebacker position. Had 10 tackles a couple of weeks ago against the Argos. They spot it back at the original line of scrimmage. 2nd and 10. Flags down. And a pass is complete to Jamie Stoddard. And let's see what the marker is all about.
Tremendous timing from Kevin Glenn on the throw. We'll see what the penalty is, but the lane opens up because the O-line up front does a nice job of keeping all the Calgary defenders wide.
Offside, Calgary, number 53, decline.
Well, Abdullah jumped the gun. The 15-yard reception by Stoddard will stand.
Watch what Kevin Glenn will see as this lane right in here will open up, and the timing on the throw. He's going to throw this ball before the receiver comes in and is open. The ball comes out of his hands, a nice tight spiral into tight coverage, and it's pretty good blocking up front for Kevin Glenn.
Tight end formation, and the option. The toss to Roberts, and Roberts carried the would-be tackler for a couple extra yards down to the 35, so 8 more for Roberts.
And this is the other thing that the great 85 does, Milt Stegall. Like, he knows, and he's told me many times, that this team is led by Charles Roberts, and he knows when Charles Roberts has success that the team will win. So Milt Stegall will get involved in the blocking scheme, and he knows the importance of that block on the outside, on the halfback. The defensive halfback is crucial to an option play because it's the halfback that can come and cut Roberts off.
Because again, if he can help Roberts get down into the score zone, he'll take over.
He takes over inside that 10.
2nd down, Graham Bell. His first run drops the ball. Oh. And let's see, Stampeders say they've got it. And Tony Tiller with it, and it is a turnover.
Well, let's see.
No, the officials say that the play had stopped and the bell was down.
We're going to take another look at this.
Tiller tried to sell it.
Graham Bell hits it up in there, and was a whistle blown, or was he down by contact before the ball came out? That's the question. Has control, Is the knee down? Tough to tell from that pile. It's now officially been ruled that he was down by contact. So to overturn, you'd have to have evidence to say the ball was loose before he was down.
Shannon James with the tackle. Raheem Abdullah shaken up on the play.
This is probably the best look, and is the left knee on the ground? Because it looked like the ball was coming out as he was going down to the ground, but it's tough to see that left knee.
And now the challenge flag is thrown.
It was sort of a sidearm.
Yeah.
It was kind of a sidearm throw. Well, Tom Higgins, when he challenged in the first half, didn't lose a challenge because he was correct and the play was overturned, and Nick Lewis catch on the sideline. I don't know if there'll be evidence here, though. This was ruled that Graham Bell was down by contact, and so it's Winnipeg ball.
Maybe that's why he went sidearm. I'm not sure, but I got a challenge.
He didn't really look, did
Calgary
he?
is challenging the play, saying that he was not down by contact.
He didn't make eye contact with the officials on the flag throw. It was sort of, I'm walking away, but I'm going to sidearm it out there.
So the Stamps won their first challenge, and it resulted in a drive continuing in for a late first half field goal. Now they're trying to use this one to snuff a Winnipeg drive.
Well, the last one, Nick Lewis, it was out on the sideline in open space, and there was a lot of good looks showing that Nick Lewis's foot was in bounds, and the foot that was on the stripe had been lifted and wasn't the foot that they counted. So that one was a little easier, I would think, for the officials. But this one, I'm not sure. There's a lot of bodies flying around here, and is there going to be enough evidence to show that the ball was loose before Graham Bell was down?
There?
Yeah.
I think he was down, and then the ball's coming out at the end of it.
The ball's coming out right about, if you keep rolling it, right about, and you can't even tell that for sure. You know what I mean? You can't tell for sure when it is loose. You see it loose at the bottom. You know, I don't know. That's going to be a tough one. It has to be irrefutable evidence, of course, to overturn it.
And again, this, if is upheld, will keep Winnipeg in scoring position.
After reviewing the play, his leg was down. The play stands as it is ruled on the field. First down, Winnipeg.
So the Stampeders 1-1 in the challenge game tonight. And a 7-yard Bell run will stand. It's a first down for the Blue Bombers down to the Calgary 28-yard line. Two-back offense with Reginbald and Roberts in the I formation. And Roberts follows on the left side. Brian Clark right there.
That's
gain.
Tremendous movement from Brian Clark to be able to come up and force Charles Roberts to bounce and then be there and bounce with him. Like, Charles Roberts wants to hit it right up into here. He wants to go right up in there, and what happens is Clark stops there and then bounces outside and makes the tackle himself. So here's where Roberts wants the hole. See him? He filled that hole, then he bounced outside and was still quick enough to get there. Their best defensive player right there, Brian Clark for the Calgary Stampeders, with Kobe Reinhart a close second.
2nd and 10, maybe 10 and a half. And there's a catch over the middle, another first down. Milt Steagles inside the 10-yard line, and they're back in scoring position.
You know, he does it physically, but he also does it mentally. And this is watching film. This is game film and game planning, because he's just going to sit down. He sees the second window. The first window is on the right side of Brian Clark in this zone defense. The second window was on the left side, on the inside. And you saw Milt Steagles shift gears and get into that second window.
Are we seeing George Reed and Mike Pringle shift a little to make room as they go back into the end zone. Touchdown, Derek Armstrong!
This could be a dangerous combination in the playoffs, folks.
A lot of weapons in this Winnipeg offense, and they're on display in the second half.
Because Derek Armstrong plays right beside Milt Stegall in this formation. And that is a dynamite combination, and Derek Armstrong wins the battle. Milt Stegall had run that same out pattern, and this time Kevin Glenn looked at Stegall, but threw it to Armstrong.
Couple of third quarter touchdowns here for the Blue Bombers. First Stegall, then Armstrong. The 1-2 punch in high gear. And the Bombers with an 11-point lead.
Go ahead, buddy. Go ahead. It's on Tiller again. Tiller grabs him. That could have been pass interference. Yep.
Look at Milt.
The difference is Reinhardt has to find the ball. Can we do it? Milt got held. I don't want to take the attention away from the catch, but Milt got held. Can we do it twice almost?
How many catches for Armstrong tonight? Just that's his first? It's his fourth game, 25th catch.
Because I got something for Armstrong and something for Stegall because he got the grab there, right?
Well, you can vote for today's Rogers Player of the Game during the fourth quarter. Send to Go CFL. Rogers brings you the latest MP3 phones. Mr. Stegall will certainly garner votes.
Well, especially if he can find a way to get one more and tie the record tonight. Who knows?
That might make it unanimous if he could do that.
But his running mate, Derek Armstrong, he comes up with a nice catch.
You know, it's just his first catch of the night, but in his fourth game, he has 25 catches and 3 touchdowns for the Bombers. Armstrong and Stegall, it's a formidable combination. And it's a good run by Ruffin. Excellent return. Graham Bell with the tackle as we take another look at the Armstrong Major.
Let's start with the catch. And the difference between Armstrong here and Reinhardt here, the defender, is that Armstrong on this fade route is going to go down the sideline with his eyes on the football the entire time. Reinhardt, with his back to the ball, has to find it, and by the time he finds it, it's too late. Now watch this too. Watch this. Milt Stegall on this out. I want to show you one more time because he gets grabbed. Tiller grabs him on the out right there. That's pass interference. He got away with that one.
There's hands off for Reynolds. Short gain, maybe a couple, and they're getting fired up down there in the trenches. And a flag has been tossed at the end of that little skirmish.
Well, Tom Canada was in that, and I've read a couple of times in the local papers here, they do that question and answer with players, and they've done it with a bunch of players, and one of the questions they always ask, if you were ever in a brawl in a bar, who would you want to be with? And it's almost unanimous that the teammates picked Tom Canada, and he was right in the middle in there. You think Ron Warner, if you ever get close to Ron Warner, stand beside him, I would think, man, there's a guy that I like to. Doug Brown would be another one. And they all picked Tom Canada. I found that interesting. He's a scrapper.
I noticed you didn't pick me, which was a wise decision on your part.
Major foul, unnecessary roughness, dead ball foul, Calgary, number 65. It's a 15-yard penalty.
Well, Taylor Roberts in the right guard apparently got the shot in that provoked. And so they march it back to the 35 of Calgary. The Bomber defense fired up in support of their guy, Charles Roberts, and I thought maybe it was just some words exchanged, but somewhere in there, Robertson got a shot in that cost his team. And it's 2nd and 22. Backpedaling is Burris, and he drops it off incomplete. Under fire there from Doug Brown.
Well, you know, there's been some costly penalties. Henry Burris is upset with the official right now, but, you know, let's go back to the fight and how it starts. Right, look right over here. This is the push in the back that starts that out. And that's Doug Brown. He pushed. There's no penalty yet. Brown, there's no penalty now. There's the third one. That's the retaliation that draws the penalty flag in that push. And Taylor Robertson coming in there and getting involved, and he gets the penalty. That put him in the hole, and then the pass rush there, and they can't get out of that hole. But you think of the Raheem Abdullah penalty, now that penalty, there's a couple of costly ones for Calgary.
That kick, a short one out at the Calgary bench. Well, there might be a little rush for Grey Cup tickets the way these Bombers are starting to put things together offensively. And a reminder that there are still some tickets available for the 2006 Grey Cup game at Canada Stadium, and that's where you can go to get your seats.
Nelly Furtado at halftime, huge star. And ever since Shania Twain, it's been a great halftime act, and I look forward to that.
Become part of the special feature, and last year an overtime classic.
Oh yeah, as good as it gets.
Kevin Glenn's heated up in this third quarter. A couple of touchdown passes, 5 for 6, and this guy has done a lot, but not here. Raheem Abdullah has him wrapped with support from Demetrius Maxey, and he'll take some yards off Roberts' totals on the night.
It will. He'll get forward progress, which will be about a 2-yard loss, not an 8-yard loss, but here he is right here, and good straight on inside pass rush move, which happened to be the running lane that Charles Roberts was looking for.
Good eye, you're right, was a loss of 2, and 2nd and 12. Glenn stands in, and that pass intended for Stoddard falls incomplete. Well, we made reference to it earlier tonight. Denny Crehan upset this week, accusing the BC Lions of having a bounty, and that Jason Claremont leg whipped Jermaine Chapman, and this was the controversial play that resulted in a broken forearm for Chapman.
Yeah, and you know, first of all, Claremont, it looked to me like Chapman was trying to do a rip move, meaning ripping his arm through. Claremont lost his balance, was getting out of the way, is not that type of player, number one. And from what I understand, is appealing his fine, and I think he should, because as far as I could tell, there was no intent to injure there at all. Now, the other question is, was there any evidence of this bounty and all of that? And I would say in all my years, I had never, ever heard a coach put a bounty on a player, ever. And I know Wally Buono and his coaching staff would never do that. So where that came from, I'm not sure. That Denny Crehan was fined for it, I think is a good decision by the Canadian Football League.
Tom Higgins, responding to a call from Wally Buono, said that he did not feel there was any intent to injure there. Flag down as Reynolds skips ahead for 2-3, and I look at the guy in question, and I find it very difficult to believe Jason Claremont.
No, no way. And you
Too
know,
honest a football player.
And he's a tough, hard-nosed football player.
And a guy coming off his own serious
Offside,
injury this year.
Winnipeg, number 20, 5-yard penalty.
You know, but
first down repeated.
In some ways, and this is a good football team in Calgary with enough talent to go all the way without question and a great defense. But you know, in some ways, you question a couple of the discipline issues. We've seen a couple of bad penalties. We hear coaches talking. We hear players talking when they shouldn't be talking. You know, and I wonder if that'll be an issue as they head into the playoffs.
Carter offside, so it's 1st and 5. Goes rolling, Simpson in pursuit. And again, the pressure on Henry Burris causing him to rush the passes. Another incompletion, and Burris still at 79 yards on the night.
Yeah, this Winnipeg Blue Bomber football team has come out in the second half with a little more jump in their step. And Charles Roberts got them started with a good first series of the second half, and then the throw to Stiegel seemed to ignite the crowd. It has ignited this team. That touchdown by Milch Stiegel, everybody knows where he is in the touchdown list. It's warmer in this stadium all of a sudden, even though it's below zero.
2nd and 5. There's Nick Lewis. And Ike Charlton with the tackle. Lewis trying to stretch ahead. Looks like he'll be at least a yard short. And Doug Brown getting involved down there with, I'm not sure if that was Jay McNeil or not. But things are heating up in the trenches.
A lot of crossing routes, and crossing routes mean that defensive backs and linebackers have to stay disciplined. If they all jump up too quick on those short crossing routes, the ones in behind them are open. If they stay way back on those ones in behind, then those short ones can be caught and turned into first downs. We'll see how close Nick Lewis got here. 2 yard and a half.
That's at least a full yard, and Steve Barato and Tom Higgins have a decision to make inside their own 40, and I think it's an automatic decision, isn't it? Despite an 11-point deficit.
You know, Tom Higgins will often make this decision, and I think it's a good one with lots of time to play in this game to punt the football. I always believe field position is so important. But then he'll turn around and he'll be the gadget guy, you know, in the special teams, and he'll run a lot of fakes and things like that he's done all year. So a bit of a tough guy to kind of figure out in some ways.
He has told us that 3rd and 19 he goes.
Yeah.
Or that's when the gadget play comes out.
Right.
Albert Johnson got under the clothesline attempt from Khalid Abdullah, and there is a flag on the play. Well, hockey fans in the Leafs region can see Toronto host the Ottawa Senators Tuesday night on TSN. Coverage begins at 7:30 Eastern. We're in the final minute of the third quarter here at Canada Stadium.
That penalty will go against Winnipeg, I believe.
An 11-point Blue Bomber lead.
Legal block, Winnipeg, number 94, 10-yard penalty, first down.
And this turns in now because of the penalty to make that Tom Higgins decision to punt an even better choice, because now the field position that Kevin Glenn is faced with is backed up in his own end.
Yeah, the illegal block charge to Ron Warner, and it puts Winnipeg back on their own 20-yard line. It's been a good third quarter for Kevin Glenn, however, and this Bomber offense generating a pair of touchdowns. Glenn rolls, wrenching ball out of the backfield, and the Big Ben up across the 35 before he's cut down. That's a good first down for the Bombers to get them out of deep in their own zone. 17 yards in the final play of the third quarter.
I know. I was gonna go to that after, but. Who?
Now,
well, you never know.
Was that when they expanded to the States? I didn't remember that. You know, the Syracuse team.
So where are we going? What do we got? What are we doing?
Do they stick with Burris here to sort things out? Is this?
I think they should with the bye.
When do you cut your losses?
The bye helps, I think. That's what. Great.
Very good. A little bit of everything there. An 11-point Blue Bomber lead. Third quarter stats brought to you by Rona, proud league-wide sponsor of the CFL.
It's been all Winnipeg in the second half. They've got 14 first downs now, and you can see 256 in net yards. The Bombers in this second half have played at a different tempo than the Calgary Stampeders.
Plenty of balance in that Winnipeg attack in the third quarter. Calgary's final game, things aren't going the way they'd drawn them up. Do you stick with Henry Burris to make sure he's playoff ready, or do you just kind of call it a day?
Well, we had just mentioned Tom Higgins can be unpredictable, but I would stay with Henry Burris because they have that bye the last week of the regular season, that if they do get a little nick here or there, they have a little bit longer to heal up. But they may have some issues on offense that they want to try and iron out in this fourth quarter and see if they can get some momentum.
You and I both talked in the last couple of weeks about Saskatchewan being that sleeper team in the West that maybe BC and Calgary haven't paid enough attention to, but I think we're getting a lot more evidence tonight that there's another sleeper team that people better be ready for, because the Bombers look like they can make some noise in the postseason. Winnipeg with the ball, 11 minutes, 14 seconds in that third quarter, coming off last week when they had the ball for 35 and a half minutes against Hamilton. And there's a completion to Jamie Stoddard and a first down catch up at the 48.
I would agree with you about those teams in the playoffs, and this is one team, when you look at the East Division right now, that can make some noise. I love this new combination of Derek Armstrong and Milt Stiegel together, both healthy and both comfortable with the quarterback, and Kevin Glenn comfortable with both of them. That's the key, because it took some time for them to get back on the page, Armstrong and Glenn. They've always been there with Stiegel.
First down, Roberts, and again Roberts right at the point of attack is brought down quickly, and so Calgary starting to snuff Charles Roberts here after an early third quarter drive.
Yeah, this is the good news for Calgary Stampeder fans. The fourth quarter for the Calgary Stampeders, that's been a good quarter for them. So not so much for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. They want to start. And remember, Tom Higgins wants to win on the road. This is something that's been haunting this Calgary Stampeder team all year long, is that they've struggled so badly on the road.
Best home team at 8-1, but 2-6 coming into tonight away from home. There's a pass to Roberts, and Lysak breaks that up to safety all over Charles Roberts.
Yeah, that's a nice play by Wes Lysak. And Wes Lysak's got a chance to play over the last 4 or 5 weeks because of the injury to Trey Young. And you know, he is a veteran, former Winnipeg Blue Bomber, who plays that well because Charles Roberts had lots of room and lots of space right over the middle. And you know how shifty Charles Roberts can be, but steady safety Wes Lysak there makes a nice play to force the Bombers to punt.
Former Bomber and Manitoba Bison, Wes Lysak. Westwood off the side of his foot. And this one will bounce out at the 29-yard line. That's a 32-yard kick. We're early in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, but you know, I think Marcus Howell has now earned the respect from coaches that they're going to try and kick away from him.
It is. What's that? Face mask against Calgary? Against Winnipeg.
Major foul, face mask, Winnipeg number 20, 15-yard penalty, first down.
I haven't got any. There's no snowstorm yet in Guelph. I'm off here. Sorry? Oh, that was Chevrier, I'm pretty sure. Oh, where's my sheet? Up for every sack in tonight's game, Purolator donates the quarterback's weight in food to a local food bank. Purolator, where business is going. Winnipeg third on that chart, but none tonight, despite the fact they've had pretty constant pressure on Henry Burris.
This has become a two-horse race for the sack attack team lead.
Ryan Clark and Randy Chevrier with sacks tonight for the Stamps, who tied for top spot last year with Edmonton in that department. Here's Joffrey Reynolds, and he is tripped up by Gavin Walls. Short gain there. Walls with the 3-sack game in Hamilton that put him into double figures for the second straight year.
You know, football is a game of emotion, and you have to control that emotion and stay disciplined. But you see the celebration by Gavin Walls, and I liked it. It wasn't showboating at all. It was to find teammates and a lot of high-fiving and slapping, and you know, that's just the intensity the Bombers have come out with us in this second half.
Reynolds has been contained for 11 second-half yards. 2nd and 8. Burris looks for Copeland, and he's got him. Kelly Malvo with the tackle. And there is a flag down, and it's coming back on a hold against Calgary.
And Anthony Marlborough went right over to Jermaine Copeland after he spiked the ball and said, "We'll walk all the way
Calgary,
back."
Number 50, 10-yard penalty, 2nd down repeated.
Now the 4-time top offensive lineman with the Stamps, Jay McNeil, pleads his case to no avail.
Left guard, Jay McNeil, a little stun up front. I think Gavin Walls cuts underneath. You see the big right arm not only across the shoulder pads and neck of Gavin Walls, but throws him to the ground. No question, that was holding.
Jay McNeil trying to protect Henry Burris, the 2 remaining Stamps from the team that won the Grey Cup here at this stadium in '98. 2nd down over, and they swing it out. Here's Cates. And Cates brought down by Barron Simpson. Another penalty marker has been thrown.
It's going to go against Calgary again.
Another hold, apparently.
But that was on 2nd down, and Wes Cates made good yards, but not first down yards.
Or do they take the field position here and keep pushing them back?
Well, I don't know about that. This is...
A 2nd and 18 would become 2nd and 28. I know we've seen a 2nd and 29 converted earlier this year.
Hey, we've seen a 2nd and 100 converted. I think I would punt or make Calgary punt the football and decline this penalty. Yeah, you take the ball, you've got the lead, you might drive and take another 6 seconds off or 6 minutes off
Calgary,
this clock.
Number 80, decline. 3rd down.
I defer to you and to Doug Barry. And it will be a punting situation 3 minutes into this 4th quarter.
Well, the Jay McNeil penalty pushed him back so far on that 2nd down do-over that, Wes Cates picked up good yardage, but it was still going to be 3rd and about 9. And you're in Calgary's end of the field. You're going to get the ball to the Winnipeg Blue Bombers around your own 25, 30-yard line. That's pretty good.
Short kick. And R.J. Franklin with not much on the return. A 36-yard punt by Dales. I still might have done it. Yep, good. Sure. He says,
What's that?
says Glenn brought them back in the 2003 West Final.
Oh, it was Glenn.
CFL on TSN is brought to you in part by Castrol. It's not just motor oil, it's liquid engineering.
Calgary Stampeders have won the last 4 meetings against Winnipeg, 6 of 7, but right now the Bombers are poised to change that, an 11-point lead with 11:50 remaining. And again, if you joined us late with the results earlier today and last night, Saskatchewan and Edmonton wins, Winnipeg with a victory here tonight, and next week in BC claim home field and second place in the CFL East, so plenty of at stake for the home side. And Charles Roberts, again, it's been tough sledding in recent carries for Roberts.
And if you're just joining us, Milt Stiegel has a touchdown, but he's done a lot more than that. In fact, tonight, the veteran of 12 years has done it all. He had some blocking work on a running play, a couple of big first down catches. He set a pick for his teammate Chris Brazel to score early on. And oh, by the way, he is now 1 touchdown away from tying the CFL record in overall touchdowns.
2nd and 9. Here comes the pressure. Glenn gets it away. And it's incomplete, and Kevin Glenn was punished.
Oh, he was.
Is that Lysak off the edge?
Well, Lysak was outside, but he was there, I believe, with Terrence Patrick, both coming around that corner. And I'm not sure who got the shot on him, but it was a big one. There's Lysak there. He's the outside man, but I'm not sure he's the guy who made the hit. Oh, actually, it came from the middle.
That's Rodriguez, the newcomer. So Kevin Glenn to the sidelines and Troy Westwood to kick away. Another low kick, and it's going to bounce back. And the Stamps get on it and get the no yards, and flags flying everywhere. Just a 24-yard punt by Westwood. It's okay. I figured it out.
No yards, Winnipeg, number 42, 5-yard penalty, major foul, unnecessary roughness, Winnipeg, number 88, 15-yard penalty.
Ooh, Jamie Stoddard.
First down.
That's it. flags, I guess, are there. Whoa.
Oh.
This Wednesday, tune in for an NHL on TSN doubleheader. The action beginning with the Sharks and Red Wings in Detroit, followed by the Oilers taking on their old buddy Chris Pronger and the Ducks in Anaheim. Coverage begins at 7:30 Eastern, 4:30 Pacific, a short punt by Troy Westwood. The no yards decline because they take the Jamie Stoddard 15-yard unnecessary roughness penalty, and Calgary's in business in Winnipeg territory at the 32. Burris, Jermaine Copeland, and Copeland will step out with a first down at the 15.
Let's go back to that Jamie Stoddard penalty, and this one has got to be in the category of questionable. There's Stoddard coming in right here. He's going to go right in front of that referee right there, and it looked like the flag came out just prior to him hitting, and he just came in and kind of fell on him, and that was unnecessary roughness. I wouldn't even call that roughness.
That's an unnecessary bump. From the 15, here is Cates. And Cates with another first down at the Winnipeg 4-yard line. As the Stampeders threaten here to draw within 4.
And Henry Burris stays in the football game. So there's the answer to that question that Tom Higginson mentioned at halftime and is sticking with it. As long as the game is in question, he's going to leave his starting quarterback in it.
Stamps trying to match last year's record of 11-7. Last year it was done on the strength of a 6-3 road record, but they're looking for only their 3rd win of the year away from McMahon. Joffrey Reynolds, left side, and it closed down in a hurry. And the heart of that defense celebrates.
Just such a great matchup when you get to watch 51 Barron Simpson and 21 Joffrey Reynolds go at it. And it's a little step to the right, and it's Simpson that's going to get there in a hurry.
Call it a yard. 2nd and goal from the 3.
Play action.
Reynolds will kick it outside. Trying to get to the corner. And Kelly Malvo says no. The former Stampeder denies the touchdown.
Well, Kelly Malvo's all of a sudden got a little bit of linebacker experience in him. He was thrown into action up in the linebacking core when Ike Charlton went down. They had to do some juggling. So on absolutely no notice, Kelly Malvo went down and played linebacker a few weeks ago. And then he comes back, he goes back into the secondary when they have injuries there, and he showed a little bit of that linebacker experience and secondary speed to get to Joffrey Reynolds on the outside and drag him down from behind.
Collars Reynolds brings him down, and what do you think, Coach? 11-point deficit, 8:12 left on the clock.
Lots of time, but this is
3rd and goal from the 2.
Maybe a fake, that fake area down here.
Brett Ralph's the holder. DeAngelis, the kicker, puts it through. It's an 8-point lead, so they're within a touchdown and a 2-point convert.
Look what I just noticed.
So, what?
We're getting that stuff all over.
Oh, are we? Oh, we are. A little bit.
I think it'll be okay.
We're okay. Well, the Bombers' Grey Cup stock seems to be rising, and there may be a rush for the remaining tickets for the 2006 Grey Cup here at Canada Stadium. And here's where to get your tickets before they're gone. Kevin Glenn back to work. And Glenn with a strike to Stiegel and a first down up at the 46-yard line. So under 8 to play and an 8-point Winnipeg lead.
Well, after that hit from Rodriguez, it's a good sign for Winnipeg Blue Bomber fans that Kevin Glenn is up and back in that huddle, because he was rocked on the previous series. Talked to the training staff through that whole defensive stand by the Winnipeg Blue Bombers and is back in there. That's good news for Winnipeg.
Before tonight, Glenn had met Calgary 9 times, only 2 touchdown passes, 8 interceptions. But he threw 2 touchdown passes in the third quarter alone here tonight. Rolling, and now Regenball, another catch into the backfield for big Scott Regenball, thundering into Calgary territory, the former Stampeder, with another first down for the Bombers.
This was the play that ended the third quarter for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers and got them nice field position. It's basically just little bootleg action here where the fullback, Scott Regenball, who lines up in the tight end position on the opposite side, comes all the way across the formation and then slides underneath into the flat, and a nice block in the open field. Scott Coe, the only guy that had a chance to tackle him, got cut down.
See Milt Stiegel with another block. I mean, he doesn't just finish touchdown drives. Always contributing, 1st and 10. And Glenn underneath, incomplete, trying for Stiegel again in traffic there. And
I think he was hit early again. I think Milt Stiegel, once again, he's turned to the official. This is the second time in this game. And this time I thought it was Brian Clark, and quick, here he is here. He's just going to try and do a little quick curl. Just a little quick hook up there, contact, and then the ball kind of went by him. And tough to tell there from that angle, but looked like that was a little bit before the ball arrived. He turned to the official and then just shook his head and shrugged his shoulders and went back to the huddle.
Milt one away from 137 touchdowns. 2nd and 10. Glenn, he took a heavy hit that time.
And that's going to be
There's
called.
Rodriguez again, and they're going to call him for the headshot.
You know, and this is going to be a tough one, because Robert Rodriguez comes across here, and I don't know if there's any possible physical way he can get below to the shoulder pad area of Kevin Glenn.
Major foul, roughing the passer. Calgary, helmet to helmet hit. 15 yards, first down.
Tell you what, we've noticed Robert Rodriguez in his CFL debut tonight, haven't we?
Yeah, we have. He's going to come right down the middle on the stunt, and he's through now. Is there any possible way for him to get in? There's clearly helmet to helmet, but that's a difference in a big height advantage by Rodriguez. I don't know if he can get any lower. And how do you get your helmet out of the way if you're running to tackle a football player? I've talked about that many times and won't belabor it, but
it has been a recurring theme this year. 15-yard penalty, and back it goes to Jamie Stoddard for a catch. J.R. Ruffin with the tackle, but the Bombers are back in the score zone, and all eyes are going to be on 85 from here on in.
Well, that distribution I talked about earlier, Kevin Glenn now using Jamie Stoddard a few times, a couple of catches for him. We've seen Brazel involved. He has a touchdown. We've seen Derek Armstrong with a touchdown. Milt Stiegel has a touchdown, and we're right down in that range again, and all eyes on 85.
1st and 10 at the 11. Give Charles Roberts, and Roberts down to the 8. I said the 11, it was the 16. That's an 8-yard pickup for Roberts.
But a good call, because, you know, the Calgary Stampeders know that Milt Stiegel is close to a touchdown record too, and they're going to pay some attention to him. And why not give it to Roberts on first down, see what he can get? And this is a perfect situation for play action. 2nd and a couple of yards. And you know that Roberts will be the primary target for the defense.
2nd and 2. Back to Roberts inside. Looked like forward progress was the 6. He had to get to the 6 for the first down, and Kevin Glenn in there quickly to get a survey on whether or not they've moved the sticks.
Now the last 2 times they've been down in this area, Milt Stegall and Derek Armstrong have lined up together on the short side of the field. Milt Stegall now 1 touchdown away from tying Mike Pringle and George Reed. The first time they ran the out, Stegall caught the out and Hank caught the touchdown. The second time they ran the exact same play, Stegall ran the out and Derek Armstrong ran the fade route or a straight go and he caught the touchdown. Oh, and they're a little short.
A couple of, well, maybe 6 inches. Osterhaus comes in and they'll bulk up that offensive line for a 3rd down gamble.
I think you go get this. I like this call.
3rd and inches, straight ahead.
Yeah, I like that call.
Absolutely. I was just wondering if it was an 11-point lead, whether you might play action there and go to Milt to the end zone.
Hey.
But it is only an 8-point lead. Calgary within a touchdown and a 2-point convert, so you don't want to get too cute.
No, and you could even argue the other way. You could even say that, you know, with just an 8-point lead, is it maybe more prudent to kick a field goal on 3rd down here? But I like the call inside of a yard to just go ahead and get it, play aggressively. Not to mention, it adds a little drama to Stegall time. I know that's not on the mind of Doug Barry. He needs a touchdown, and he wants the win here tonight.
That's an important victory. The Bombers are trying to post to set up a big game next week in BC. From the 5, 1st and goal. Back inside, Roberts, what a good tackle that was, and that's Rodriguez again. And the Stampeders may have found somebody here. What a game he's had at linebacker. Boy, that's a touchdown saver.
Yeah. How did he get there?
UTEP.
Did you see anything?
He hasn't been here, has he?
Is he in here?
I think he's just a late ad.
Just an ad? Wasn't a rookie yet?
Yeah, that was. What's Chuck Bob? Rodriguez, UTEP, rookie, 28 years old, 27, 28. The touchdown Beagle's out. No, he's out.
The CFL on TSN is brought to you by Coors Light, the Silver Bullet, and by the all-new 2007 GMC Sierra, GMC Professional Grade.
2nd and goal from the 1, and the short yardage offense is on, and Milt Stegall is off. As the Bombers try to punch it through here. The power eye. And Charles Roberts walks in. Touchdown, Charlie Roberts.
Well, if you're Doug Barry, you can't completely change your strategy and your game plan to try and get a player a record. So you can't blame him for going to Charles Roberts inside the 10-yard line a couple of plays in a row. I mean, that's the safest play to make. It's a handoff, not a throw. And you've got Charles Roberts, and the crowd here always wants to see more of number 1, and they got him. They got him in the end zone.
3 touchdowns in the second half for the Winnipeg offense. That drive 9 plays, 75 yards. Doug Barry said, "We aren't where we'd like to be on offense." That was before the game. This second half might be getting close to where Doug Barry and the Bombers want to be, as they open up a 15-point lead. Got the CFL stat or the standings. We should maybe do this.
Here you go, buddy. Here you go. Here you go. Now there's one,
9 and 8. 9 and 8. .223 to go here, and then we'll head to the West Coast. Ticats wrap up their season against the BC Lions. I believe standing by.
Well, we won't. We'll head to a comfortable, warm eating establishment and just turn on the TV.
We'll be watching though.
Crank up the volume, absolutely. Put on a pumpkin head.
Robert's celebrating quite a night. Bombers are going to accomplish just about everything they set out to do here. The rushing not the main priority, a win at home to move into a tie with Montreal for first. Not done yet, but 2:23 to go and a 15-point lead. Stiegel now within 1 of the all-time touchdown record. That might sell a few more tickets for the BC Lions next week. J.R. Ruffin on the return across the 45-yard line. And Henry Burris continues to lead Calgary out on offense.
One more look at the touchdown by Charles Roberts as he has to avoid one hit right here. Little penetration there by the Calgary Stampeders, but after that it was stroll into the end zone for Chuck Bob.
So a touchdown for Brazel, a touchdown for Stiegel, a touchdown for Armstrong, a touchdown for Roberts. Burris throws the out. Elijah Thurman's there, and he steps out. Take a look at our rushing lead that's now 4. But again, Roberts still has 1 more game to go. So it looks like the defending champion, unless Joffrey Reynolds can put some numbers up in the last 2-12 of his regular season.
Yeah, tougher now though because Calgary's so far back. They've got to chuck it.
Burris to Chuck, but he can't get it away. Tom Canada and Gavin Walls.
That was the high-low shot. Canada coming over the top, and Gavin Walls on the legs of Henry Burris, and they meet at the quarterback starting in different ends. There they are. And they say, you start over there. Nice spin move by Gavin Walls. Nice underneath cut and move from Tom Canada. And they get home.
And the Bombers, as Lyle Bauer mentioned earlier today, started well. They went 5-2 out of the gate. Then the injuries compounded. They lost 4 straight, but they've got a shot now of starting 5-2 and ending 5-2. They win tonight. They're 4-2 with 1 to go. And you know, an errant pass.
You know something too, Chris? And our producer John Hines makes a good point in my ear right now. Is that I agree with Tom Higgins playing Henry Burris throughout this game when it was in question, but after that last Charles Roberts touchdown with 2:50, should Henry Burris, should Joffrey Reynolds be in the game now? Is maybe you hate to get a guy hurt at this point when this game is probably not winnable.
Now, Jim Barker talking prior to the game said this is a tough one because we may be able to build on the momentum we produced last week, but with nothing at stake, you don't want to draw too many conclusions if they don't win here. I wonder what The final verdict's going to be on this night for the Stampeders.
Oh, baby.
Rambo with the catch. And a first down at the 40 on the 3rd and 18.
Well, some kind of throw and play by Henry Burrs, who was dropping back, had pressure all over him, and how he sidearmed this in there to Kenyon Rambo. He had to throw it and take cover. And then get the first down on a 3rd down gamble. Not over yet.
Still life in the Stamps at the 40 of Winnipeg. First down. Burris goes behind Copeland, incomplete.
Jermaine Copeland took about 3 steps too many before he decided to turn in and look to the quarterback, Henry Burris. And Henry Burris is waiting for him to break it off, and he takes an extra couple of seconds, an extra couple of steps. Here he goes down, and you see the timing is off. He's already run past the football when he turns around and never ever finds it. That's because of those 2 extra steps he took.
Copeland 17 yards away from what would be his 4th straight 1,000-yard season. 2nd and 10. Burris, pressure, and a completion to Marcus Howell.
But it will mean another 3rd down gamble, because Marcus Howell came back to that ball, which he had to do, but it left him 3 yards short.
Minute 32 to go. Ball down to the 33. Burris no huddle. Ron Warner to the sidelines for the Bombers. And Burris over the middle, and Howell couldn't reach it. There's Burris challenging the line of scrimmage, but unable to hook up with Marcus Howell. Turnover on downs, 88 seconds to go. Would you think this will be Charles Roberts' time?
Maybe throwing up to Stiegel, seeing if he can get in behind somebody.
Oh, cut back by Roberts. That might be the rushing title right there. And I think Charles Roberts is aware number 1 is going to be number 1 for the 3rd time in 4 years.
Fairness to Joffrey Reynolds, although by the look on his face, it looks to me like he knows it too. But in fairness to him, he's said many times that the rushing title is not important to him. Winning the Grey Cup is, and believe me, winning the Grey Cup is important to Charles Roberts as well. But you can kind of get by the look on his face, you get the feeling that he knows.
I remember in mid-September, it was 162 yards for Reynolds, Roberts with 23. The turnaround tonight, and Kevin Glenn doesn't want to make any mistakes right now and just hops on the ball. 1 minute to go.
You know, there's been question all year about Kevin Glenn. The way he started the game, or the season I should say, everyone was pretty optimistic here in Winnipeg that this was going to be Kevin Glenn's breakout year. Then he got hurt, and he came back from that injury and didn't look quite as sharp, and then the questions they cropped up again. You know, and when you look across the league right now, especially in the East, I mean, this football team led by Kevin Glenn coming off the great Hamilton game, putting 28 on the board in this game, looks like he's ready to take a playoff run.
I mentioned all those other weapons, but what might be most pleasing to Doug Barry is the second half by number 5.
Now, did Charles Roberts just lose yards?
He just lost a couple, and they didn't like the way he was taken down, and here we go. Jamie Stoddard got in the middle of that, but Roberts was unceremoniously dropped, and some of his teammates took exception.
In the middle of that, I think Mike Abu-Meshrik was injured on the play. He was slow to get up and is making his way to the sideline. and not moving his left arm.
Abdullah getting back into the grill of Jamie Stoddard.
There's Mike Abumeshrik. He'd only be fighting with one arm, although that would probably be a good fight.
Boy, he's had a year where he's had a series of injuries, and he's got to take a knee again. And
yeah, Doug Barry asked him to go back onto the field to take the knee so that he could sort things out.
Unnecessary roughness. Calgary number 53, 15-yard penalty, first down.
That's Raheem Abdullah that gets the call.
You know, Raheem Abdullah has taken some undisciplined penalties, I should say, in this game. And this one, the game is over. And that's how it all starts. And that's the second time Khalid Abdullah has done that. And then the fight is on. But there was a crucial penalty early on to Raheem Abdullah. And again, the discipline factor for this Calgary Stampeder football team. They've had a couple of bad penalties tonight.
Abumeshrik off now. And another first down because of the penalty. And Stampeders have been undisciplined tonight. Now they'll take a knee and run the clock down. So it has worked out. It's been a perfect weekend for the Blue Bombers. I mean, starting with Saskatchewan over Toronto, then Edmonton surprising Montreal. Doug Barry's team took care of their own business tonight, and they get to go to BC to close out the season and a win, and they can come back and play at home in the Eastern semi-final.
Well, not many people are giving them a chance, but only 2 teams in the last 22 years have been playing in the Grey Cup at home. And could the Winnipeg Blue Bombers make it 3-23? They have a shot.
And still ahead, second half of our CFL on TSN doubleheader. Ticats and the Lions from BC Place Stadium, and that's where we will be next week to close out the year, and this one's closed out here. An impressive second half. Doug Barry's offense hitting on all cylinders, and they prevail 28-13, 9-8 for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. With 1 to go, Calgary wraps up their season 10-8.
We're done. I was going to use